Hello everyone, Burb here. We finally reached the final video in our Pisces Cup Guide series. I will be talking today about frontrunners. If you're new here, this is a specific frontrunner guide. We're going to be talking about the skills for frontrunners, where to find the skills on the cards, and then go over each of the frontrunner characters. If you're looking for a more broad overview of Pisces Cup, I have an overview video that talks about the track, general deck building strategies, justifications for stats, and all that. And also, if you would like a different role, this is the last of the 4 roles that I have made, so I do have the Pace Chaser, Late Surger, and End Closer guide available as well on the channel. So let's talk about frontrunners. As a disclaimer, I am more of a Late Surger player than anything else, more of a backline player because they kind of play the same. However, I do know some things about frontrunners too because I've been fighting you guys since the start of the game. And this particular CM, I don't think frontrunners are very complicated either. So I could get things wrong, but luckily frontrunning is the most popular role to play. So there's plenty of people in the comments that will be correcting it, and I will try to compile those in the description as well as a pinned comment as well. You may even see some corrections pop up on screen from YouTube's built-in corrections feature. So with that being said, let's begin and talk about frontrunners. Are frontrunners good? One character is possibly the best character of the CM. The rest sort of fall behind the end closers, but are still very, very, very good. Okay, you don't have to worry about PDM. That is an incredible advantage over the other roles. You have a checklist style gameplay, which I mean by that is every single check box that you mark off your list means that your character is substantially better than if you didn't have it before. This is not like late surgers or end closers where, hey, you have a bunch of mid-race speed skills and late-race speed skills that progressively make your character better, but it is not just a different tier every single time you check off a box. You have a guaranteed excel in Citizen Black, Alt Inherit, or Alt itself, and a moderate stamina requirement, meaning that you're better than Pace Chasers who are struggling a lot with stamina, but you're not as good as Late Surgers in that respect. But you do have access to a very reliable, role-specific gold recovery, which is quite a large advantage. You do have the biggest problem, which is a very low late race speed. Now, you can compensate this with some late race speed skills, but you're going to find that you also don't have a lot of late race speed options as well. And because you're fighting against end closers, which have the highest late race speed, you need to stretch out the pack quite a bit. And unfortunately, besides Citizen Black, you are reliant solely on a 0.1 acceleration, which means that you need to either just accept it or supplement it with some other form of acceleration to give yourself a high roll chance when an end closer actually hits as well. Okay, so here are your stats. I have the same stats as every other roll. I think that power is quite good on this map as well. So I think you still need a balance of power and wit. Obviously, these are minimum stats. Your stamina would be the first thing to increase past 1,000 because 1,000 plus 2 gold recoveries will cause you to live. 1,100 to 1,150 plus a gold recovery and possibly a white recovery for safety will cause you to spurt as well. So stamina is very good. Wit's very good. Power is very good. Guts obviously helps with stamina. And of course, you need your speed requirement. Unfortunately, the long CM, every stat is good. Early race. According to the handbook, your goal of the early race basically is to get yourself into spot struggle and pace up mode. Both of those require multiple front runners, which is most likely to happen because of Citizen Black existing. And essentially, you need to be 3.75 meters from the furthest forward front runner. In order to do that, you essentially have a tier-based system where you have taking the lead and groundwork. And if you want to be in the front, you need both of these. You're going to be better if you have both of these than someone who has one or the other. The more important one, in my opinion, is taking the lead. It seems to be more potent and it's much easier to grab than groundwork plus 3 greens. Okay? When this happens, you essentially just get a speed boost, and then pace up mode happens, you get another speed boost. And every single one of these speed boosts is important because you are trying to stretch the pack out as much as possible to give yourself as much of an advantage throughout the late race because the end closers are eventually going to push themselves forward as well. And with Umastan, they're going to be ignoring PDM if they high roll on that. So you need any advantage that you can get. Now, I'm a late surger main. Remember this. I know the thought is that, hey, you need every single thing on a front runner. If there's ever a race where if you have a very good horse with a lot of mid-race speed skills, if there ever was a race to miss groundwork, this probably is it, because the mid-race is so long that you have a lot of ground that you can make up in the mid-race from just being lucky plus mid-race speed skills. Now, groundwork is going to help you a lot against the end closers, but as far as positioning is concerned, people without groundwork you're going to find are going to still possibly win the late race against people with groundwork, especially those Summer Mars with those potent mid-race speed skills and those vanilla Bourbons with their mid-race speed skills as well. So groundwork, not absolutely required. The problem you're going to figure out is that, hey, those end closers are going to be catching up to you more because you are either not in the, you're not in the spot struggle, or also because you're not accelerating as fast. So that is the problem with not having groundwork. But again, not a front runner player. Focus should be used as a sort of cope skill if you're missing your groundwork plus 3 greens. It only saves you 7.3% of the time compared to the regular because it changes your delay by only 0.9. Concentration eliminates the acceleration penalty from having a visual or non-visual late start. So concentration is great to take because it removes your delay completely if you are afraid of late starts at all. Otherwise, if you don't mind the consistency, you can omit it. But again, concentration is very good. Focus is sort of a cope move. It doesn't really do that much in my opinion. I think you can live those 7.3% of the time. Here are your greens: right-handed spring runner, rainy days, front savvy, wet conditions, standard distance. Here are all the cards that exist that have more than 0 race bonus. I'm pretty sure there's some here that have 0 race bonus, but there's just so many of these cards. Notable ones that I found: the old special week actually has 2 of them. That's pretty nice. Shinko Windy, I believe, has wet conditions as well. And yeah, there's a lot of different good cards here that you can pick. Manhattan Cafe SR for the free-to-play players as well. Lots of good options for greens. The navigation combo is another checkbox that's going to help you because essentially when you are moving side to side, you have an increased speed. And this, again, pushes you further forward from the end closers. So dodging dangers plus any of prudent positioning or ignited spirit wit will cause your Uma to navigate outwards and then followed by shunting itself back into the inner rail. So you won't get any penalty from navigating outwards, but you will also be moving sideways, which increases your general speed. Your acceleration option that is mandatory is Victory Cheer, either as the character or as an inherit. The reason being is if you are not getting this guaranteed acceleration, why are you not playing a role that has better gamble options? Okay, so Victory Cheer will give you 2.6 lengths. On the character itself, it's double that to 4.6 legs. So even though it's a 0.3 to 0.1, simulator basically just says, hey, it's 2x plus, but that is very significant. 2 lengths on a front runner is a lot, and Kiddison Black will be very dominant this CM. If you are not Kiddison Black, I highly suggest, and even if you are Kiddison Black, it helps, but it's not required, I highly suggest getting a secondary acceleration option, because the problem is that because Kiddison Black is a first and second place ultimate, even if you proc Kiddison Black ult in first place, if she procs it when you're at 0.3, she will pass you. Funny thing happens with Nimble Navigator and No Stopping Me is that if she passes you and you get lucky enough that the game decides that No Stopping Me needs to proc, well, you will also accelerate. The problem is that if you have Nimble Navigator, which gives 0.2, you accelerate at 0.3 and Kiddison Black accelerates at 0.3. However, Kiddison Black has triggered it on her pass, which means she has been accelerating more time than you have. So it's essentially she has a pseudo speed carryover against you, and so she will continue to be faster than you even though you meet her acceleration. Now this is overcomeable by late race speed skills, and Nimble Navigator is still a good skill, but hypothetically you can do this with No Stopping Me and you will accelerate faster. Now the problem is that you don't really necessarily want to be in second place, but this is an option. It's sort of a pass protect quote unquote build. I wouldn't necessarily seek it out, but it does exist. Your other options are Ignited Spirit Power. You could also 1 and 4 for Straight Excel Rushing Gale, or you could take Radiant Star, which I think a lot of people are taking for the recovery. but it is technically a 1 in 6 to give you a high roll acceleration option. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just super, super expensive. I don't like second wind. I think a lot of front runner players don't like second wind because you're trying to be in front most of the time. And it does pick a random point, so the odds of it in this massively long race of actually picking directly before the acceleration zone is very low. And Resplendent Red Ace, the problem with it is that usually you will be in second going into first pretty early because all the front runners sort of fight each other a lot, especially with the uphill that happens in the second half of the mid race. So Resplendent Red Ace is very likely to actually proc early this CM, mainly because of the wit roll downhill that leads into the mid race, and then all the different skills in the mid race that we're procking anyways. So the long mid race makes Daiwa Scarlet Alt not the greatest. It's still a very good speed option for mid race speed. Saiyan Sky Ultimate doesn't work, in my opinion. I've explained this in the End Closer guide, but Saiyan Sky Ultimate basically only gives you consistent amount of lengths when you miss every single other acceleration. And on front runners in particular, if you're missing your primary acceleration of Kittison Black Alt, you are not winning the race. Okay? Very, very rarely you will win the race because you picked Saiyan Sky Alt as a backup. So Victory Cheer should be your primary acceleration. After this gives you about 0.5 lengths. Almost every skill in the game gives you more than 0.5 lengths. So I do not suggest Saiyan Sky angling and scheming. I do not think it works because the corner is too far forward. Next, you need some mid-race speed skills. So you want as many of these as possible. Obviously, you can't necessarily get them all, but Leader's Pride is good. It is just a mid-race option. Professor of Curvature can proc twice with Corner Adept. Long corners and Pace Chaser. Front runner corners cannot, but they are still good corner skills. Playtime's Over Slipstream has a cooldown as well, and most likely, I believe Slipstream's a little bit weird, but it should proc because you don't really want to be following people in the front runner position, but it's still good because in general, you're going to be fighting the front runner, like you're gonna be swapping between first, second, third position a lot. So it's decent as well. Umamusume is basically just a speed skill, but hypothetically, if there's a lot of front runners, it could proc as well. For your speed carryover skills, you have long straights and front straights as well. Vanguard Spirit maybe is fine on a runaway, but it requires you to be Banshin +1 and being in exactly first. The odds of that happening with multiple front runners, it's a little tough to model. I find that all the front runners generally keep together quite a bit unless you have an absolutely busted front runner with a ridiculous high amount of power and wit. Beeline Burst, which is straightaway adept, is very good as well and can speed carry over 1 out of every 4 times. Escape Artist, fast paced, is very good. And of course, It's On Ramp Up has the problem, which is you should be passing, but hypothetically, if you're in first the whole time, you're not going to use it to pass ever. So if it's solo front runner, it's not very good. Otherwise, Ramp Up, It's On. Again, it has a shorter duration than the other skills. That's why it's about half effectiveness, but it's certainly there. Feature Act as well is almost guaranteed for you because you are in the first 4 pretty much the entire race. If you know what you're doing, if you're picking risky business, you know what you're doing. You need 100 stamina, but it's just a random point. Tail Held High is good. Tail 9 is good as well. You have a couple mid-race speed inherits. Resplendent Red Ace, again, like I said, it most likely will proc early. Operation Cacao is a white speed skill as well. A Kiss for Courage is a white speed skill as well. Bakashin is a decent white speed skill. View from the Lead is mine. It has the problem of Banshin +1, but also can proc in the late race as well. So it's most likely will happen in the situations that you are winning the game. You have the same late race speed skills as pretty much everyone else, but you don't really have your own specific one. You have Innate Experience, Inside Scoop, and In Body and Mind, Home Stretch Haste as well. And this is the problem is that you don't really have very many good late race speed skill options. Your good ones are Duty Dignity Calls will proc almost 100% of the time because you will be in the front of the pack. Bark Roll Blessings, the odds of you not being in 4th and then somehow winning the game at 400 meters going from 4th to 1st is like 0. So Bark Roll Blessings has the chance of being 0.25 because you are ground working with 3 greens. And also just a very good speed skill. Lights of Vaudeville means you need to be 3 or better and being followed. And then your other white options, you can run some pass protect options with Mayano Top Gun, Sakura Chiono O, as well as Measure Arden Alt. However, these all have sort of problems in that, hey, if you're being passed, normally it's by an end closer, and if it's by an end closer, you are most likely losing the game if you're being passed on the final corner, even if it's very close to the end. But these do help out a lot against Kidison Black if you're fighting other frontrunners. But again, end closers are generally your main problem as a frontrunner player. Also, go first forever. I think people forget this a lot. If you don't get rushed, you just kind of proc this in the late race for, for frontrunners. Your recoveries. Your specific recovery that you have is Restless, and Restless is very good because it is just procs on the first uphill, which is in the mid-race, which means it is a 100% guaranteed recovery. Moxie is really what you are going to be doing with this, because I suggest you get about 1100 stamina and you grab something like Swinging Maestro from Super Creek, and then you grab Moxie from just the game giving you it because it seems like it procs it a lot, or you get it from Bourbon Wit. And from there, you have your recoveries. It is quite a large advantage over the other roles because you just have it on the cards that you are wanting to run. So Swinging Maestro, Moxie, plus a 1100 stamina is probably enough to spurt most of the time, if not all. And you can get most of these recoveries from these cards here. Mayano Top Gun Speed, as well as Inus Fusion Guts, both give Restless, and then Swinging Maestro is your other big main one on Super Creek. I structured the cards section a little bit differently than normal. I find there's not many cards that you can actually feel like running on this particular CM, especially for frontrunners. But if you do want to just get groundwork, you can just get it from Smart Falcon Power, and you can get it from Sakura Bakashino Guts. The one that most people are going to be running are probably Mahono Bourbon Wit, because that gives the only reliable way of taking the lead, and also gives a bunch of other frontrunner skills. And then Twin Turbo is more than a 1 in 8, as we figured out. It's kind of like Fuku, where it kind of does it every 70-30 or 60-40. So it's probably closer to a 1 in 6 rather than a 1 in 8. But it is it's the other option for taking the lead, and the only option to get it on Mahono Bourbon herself. You also get Fast Pace, Early Lead, Comp, and Target Insight. So Competitive Spirit, Target Insight, a bunch of different greens. The other cards that I think you can possibly consider running, if you want Escape Artist, you can run Helios or Saiyan Sky, stamina and power respectively for the 50-50. You can run the free-to-play Suzuka card that doesn't have the greatest stamina generation, but does give you concentration and a bunch of frontrunner skills. Mahono Bourbon Power, if you do not have Mahono Bourbon Wit, does give you a bunch of minor skills. No Stopping Me can be found on the Yukino Bijin Wit card. And then, of course, Kidison Black is actually, surprisingly enough, a frontrunner card that gives you almost every frontrunner skill that you need in the game, as well as Professor of Curvature, a really, really good long skill. Mayano Top Gun has Restless built in as well. It's probably one of the better borrows if you have Fuku or NTR plus Super Creek. You get Straightaway Recovery, Straightaway Adept, Nimble Navigator, and Competitive Spirit as well. Your greens, like I said, right-handed Spring Runner, Rainy Days, Frontrunner Savvy, Wet Conditions, Standard Distance can be found on these cards. Use the highest race bonus that you can have, and use the strongest cards that you can have. Your stats are going to be the thing that puts you ahead of most people. So besides of just running like Mahono Bourbon Wit, I don't think there's any real card on this list that is will give you a significant advantage. Unless you have every card, then maybe you can consider fitting in Yukino Bijin Wit in some weird 3-wit deck. Gonna grab a drink of water. All right, let's talk about the characters. The strongest front runner, you guessed it, is Kidison Black, and she is surprisingly easy to build because for some reason, Side Games also decided to give her taking the lead, which means all you need to do to get a perfect Kidison Black is just load up on mid-race, but she has Blast Forwards, which is most likely a mid-race. It's 2 out of every 3 times it is a mid-race speed skill. She comes with Corner Adept as well. And you just grab Groundwork. And then you have a built Kidison Black that has Victory Cheered, which is essentially a 0.3 acceleration that is guaranteed as long as you have enough mid-race to get to the front. Another good way that you can do to help your mid-race out a lot is actually by pumping power because of the uphill, and you will be just faster than the other characters. So there's a balance of power and wit that you need to do to maintain your position with wit in the non-uphill, and then maintain your speed in the uphill. that also helps you get that victory cheer. This is the character that can solely fight end closers just from proccing victory cheer. It's kind of between her and Taishin, sort of 50-50, honestly, whether Umamusume procs properly. That just will sort of win. Now, they can be overcome. There's a lot of characters that can fight them, and people who do like No Stopping Me, or you get lucky with Nimble Navigator or Glittering Star, you can win even a perfect proccing Citizen Black. Mahona Bourbon Valentine, from what I've been told, Mahona Bourbon Valentine, surprisingly enough, had the highest win rate when Japan eventually did this cup. And it wasn't because anything special with the character. Citizen Black's ultimate was stronger. It's just that people were able to build Mahona Bourbon a lot easier, and they had, in general, better frontrunners. So she comes with Escape Artist, which is just a great mid-race speed skill, comes with concentration, so she never had late starts, comes with groundwork and a green. So all you do is you find a second green. You don't even need a second green. You could just, you just got to put early lead on her. You can't really get taking the lead unless you do twin turbo card. And then it sort of just builds itself. And because of this, you were able to cycle this character over and over and over again until you had an absolutely ridiculous long-ass Mahona Bourbon Valentine. And that is what the strength of this character is because she's super easy, you can just keep getting a better and better, more min-max version of this character if you so desire. Regular Mahona Bourbon, despite being hard, is technically even stronger because, hey, it's a very good late race speed skill and go first forever. Gives you front straights, 2 greens, and taking the lead. So if you have taking the lead and Valentine doesn't, the problem is this character is a lot harder to build because just the fact that she doesn't have like any of the required skills, so you have to find them on different cards and get lucky. And because of that, you can't do as many iterations. Maruzensky is the third strong character on this list. Don't know why I didn't put her stats up, but Kiss for Courage is just a very, very strong mid-race speed skill that causes you quite often to get in the first position. It's not as strong because Citizen Black can proc in the second position, but used properly with a runaway, you can deny Citizen Black and basically win the frontrunner battle. She also comes with Restless, which is quite a large advantage because you just solo Super Creek and then just pump your wit and speed. Regular Maruzensky, unfortunately, the ultimate doesn't work because it's a final corner acceleration skill on long. She comes with focus straightaway depth and a 10% speed, 20% wit bonus. So Oshi players, you can play her just for her stats, but she doesn't really give you anything. And you're going to find a lot of these characters have hard ratings because they don't really give you that much. Silence Suzuka as an ace is quite difficult because all she has really is concentration. Unyielding doesn't really work because it's the final corner. And then View from the Lead is Mine is a little troublesome because you need to be in the front of the pack in first place with at least a length over someone else in after the 50% mark, I believe, or just maybe in the mid-race. But 20% speed is going to help you a lot. If you are running her as a sacrificial runaway, it's quite easy. You just go over to Unity Cup. You get some generally good speed and stamina and wit, and then concentration, and it will give you the same thing. But basically what you're doing with this is you're running forward. I'm not 100% familiar with this, but you do 2 things. You push the pack positions back 1, which means that, hey, your Citizen Black, if it's built incredibly well, will beat out other Citizen Blacks because then they'll be in third. And then also you are using it to possibly trigger Nimble Navigator and also to stretch out the pack even more because your front runners will also move forward, I believe. But also Umamusume gets a little wonky because the total percentage position of the distance is forward as well. There's a lot of weird things that happen when a runaway is present that I'm not 100% certain of. I just know that a common strategy was to run a sacrificial Silent Suzuka. Perhaps someone in the comments, a front runner main, perhaps will enlighten me a little bit more because this is something I need to learn as well. So I appreciate it, whoever answers that question. Daiwa Scarlet is pretty good. It's just, again, her ultimate's possibly going to proc early quite often in the situations where you're winning. If you're sort of stuck in third place, it's a little tough. Citizen Blacks and other frontrunners generally have the advantage in the mid-race. It is a very nice mid-race speed skill. It's just she doesn't really give you anything else except for the fact that she has good mile, medium, long aptitudes, so she's really easy to run. Saiyan Sky, as we said, her ultimate doesn't work. However, I am actually, surprisingly enough, just giving her a medium rating just because she gives you a green. Tail held high is a pretty decent mid-race speed skill to help with it, and escape artist is a really good mid-race speed skill. So if you ignore the fact that her ult is just sort of a backup ultimate that just gives you a little bit, you put everything on this character, it's not going to be as strong as Citizen Black for sure, but it's just quite easy to hit the minimum threshold just from getting groundwork taking the lead. Mayano Top Gun has a weird and interesting interaction with, because she has no stopping me. It is essentially the Pass Protect build that I was talking about. She comes with Breath of Fresh Air, which is notably not Swinging Maestro, which means you just put Super Creek, and then you have your 2 recoveries. You can sacrifice your stamina a little bit, and Flashy Landing combined with No Stopping Me means that if you are in first position and you win the mid race and you are in first position and you proc Citizen Black ult, and Citizen Black, who has a 0.3 acceleration, goes to pass you, you proc No Stopping Me to get back into first position. With that, plus the combination of Flashy Landing giving you some late race speed skill to help in that endeavor. You need to build this character probably with long S, honestly, to make this particular interaction work a little better, but I've seen some MTGs just absolutely rocket forward when they've been passed by Citizen Black. So it's a bit of a niche build. Mildy's difficult. Her ultimate is not great in the early game as far as running what's called make a new track scenario, track blazer scenario, but I've seen some MTGs go absolutely like ridiculously far forward. Wedding, again, just this character, it just feels like you should just run the other Mayano Top Gun. You get 10 speed, 10 wit, but it's just like you're running a worse ultimate. It's just a speed ultimate. Swinging Maestro means that you have just 1 recovery instead of 2, and you only get some white skills rather than having No Stopping Me, which is actually quite a large advantage in niche situations where it procs. So I don't see much reason to play this character except possibly for the stats. Measuro McQueen, Duty Dignity Calls is good. As you can see, it's just late. I don't have all the stats. I apologize. TDDC will proc 100% of the time. If you're in the front in the positions you're winning. Vanguard Spirit has its problems because you have to maintain the lead, like I said. Long Corners is good. You get a green. It's still hard to build. Doesn't really give you much. Anime is surprisingly a lot easier. You got a recovery, so you got your 2 recoveries, so you can sack your stamina as per usual. Beeline Burst is a great skill. It's just basically better long straights. What is it called? Flash Forward. Legacy of the Strong is fine because it's basically like if you're being passed, maybe it gives you enough to live, but again, it doesn't really help against end closers. Straightaway Depth's good. Early lead is good. If you don't get taking the lead, it's fine to cope with it. If you get with plus groundwork, maybe you fight the person who has just taking the lead. Symbole Rudolph is hard. I believe she has front C. Behold Thine Emperor's Divine Might has very unlikely to proc because if someone is passing you, you're just like, no way you're passing 3 people to get back into first. Professor of Curvature is a good skill and gives rainy days. She doesn't really give anything for the front runner position. A lot better as an end closer. Festival Rudolph's even harder. She doesn't really give you anything except speed and wit bonus. And Arrows Whistles is just a late race speed skill that gets clip, I believe. Sorry about that. Rice Shower is pretty difficult as well because Blue Rose Closer generally likes to be in 2nd through 4th, I believe. Yes, you have to pass somebody on the final corner, which is a problem with a lot of these front runners, that you don't want to be passing people on the final corner because most likely you're being passed by somebody. Cooldown gives you a recovery and doesn't really give much else. A lot of these characters are like this, man. Halloween is more of a debuffer than anything else, but Every Rose Has Its Fang technically is an innate recovery. Plus that, plus corner recovery is your stamina requirement. So not as hard as expected. You get groundwork, taking the lead, all your mid-race, all that stuff can be good. Or you can go the pathway of debuffs and do something like Tantalizing Trick, which basically means that the rushed runners will just die because they add like 5 seconds to their rush timer. So anyone who doesn't actually have 2 gold recoveries will just die if they do get rushed, which is about 12 to 15% of the time. But overall, Tantalizing Trick isn't the greatest skill in the world, but you probably kill like 1 end closer with it every single run. Sakura Chiona O, it's just a pass protection ultimate. Pass protecting means, because if they pass you, you're then following them, which means that you're going to shoot forward in 300 meters or less. It's not going to help against end closes. It may help against a front runner or a pace chaser. You do get spring runner and a better spring runner that does give you power. Other than that, it doesn't really give anything. Fuji Kaseki, same thing, gives you absolutely nothing except some whip bonus. Lights of Vaudeville is a good skill, but it's pretty difficult on front runners when the character doesn't really give you anything at all. TM Opera O gives you nothing. Dance for Victoria technically is a pass protect skill, but more likely than not, you probably should be running the New Year's version of her because Bark Roll of Blessing is an incredibly good late race speed skill. Swinging Maestro is, of course, good. Inner Plus Proficiency is an unreliable green, but she has Headliner, which is Feature Act Gold, and it's the only character I believe that has it. Someone else may have it that I'm missing, but Headliner is very good. It has very good chance of speed carry over. Measure of Arden, Measure of Dober, and Tosin Jordan unfortunately give you nothing for the front runner position. You can run them front without forcing. It's just you're basically going with just what the game gives you through cards. Tokai Teo is weird because Sky High Teo Sep wants you to pass somebody on the final straight, and if you're doing that, it's you're probably losing the game, but does give you prudent positioning. That's why she's not with the other ones, which is weird. Anime Teo is just pretty hard to build with Spring Runner. If you're on the heels of another runner towards the front on the final corner or later, unless it's a Kid in Black you're trying to catch up with, I don't see Certain Victory getting you there very often. Super Creek technically has enough recoveries in her kit to survive, so all you got to do is put all the front runner skills on her. Fine Motion, Fairy Tale, like I said, is track agnostic, and because you're guaranteed in the front half of the pack, most likely, I guess if there's 6 front runners. Fairy Tale has just a chance of randomly proccing some points and challenging someone in clustered packs, and possibly could speed carry over. The Pasas are difficult to suggest at all on this track. El Condor Pasa Original technically is a backup corner ultimate for first and second, but it's just not great. And then, of course, El Condor Pasa Fantasies Ultimate being a final corner excel doesn't really work as well. That with front E makes these very difficult to recommend, but you have to put everything on them. Biwa Hayahide surprisingly gives you a absolute ton of things. Unfortunately, she's front E with, I believe, D mile, which is a little bit tough. C mile? It's one of the two. But Hanshin Racecourse in wet conditions just means that with taking the lead, if you get taking the lead, there's your 3 greens for groundwork. She comes with cooldown, which is your gold recovery. OPP's there if you really want to gamble. But basically, she comes with the groundwork green package. Just put groundwork taking the lead on her and you have minimum requirements. Christmas has a guaranteed ultimate pretty much in Presence from X if you're not in the front half of the pack, or I guess well positioned, which is technically 4th, I believe, not 5th. Then you're in trouble. So this is most likely going to proc. Hanshin Racecourse is a green that you get. You come with IBAM and VIP pass, so it's basically like Biwa Hayahide, only with an additional gold late race speed skill, which may help a little bit. It's just a little bit harder to build, but still pretty easy to build. And finally, I believe Agnes Tachyon is the last one. 3rd through 4th with Uma squared is not the greatest to have a recovery because you want to be in first position or at least fighting for first and second. And if there's not a lot of front runners, most likely you're not in 3rd through 4th. She gives you a green in corner depth, but her front E aptitude makes it difficult. So that is every front runner that I could find, at least that I could find at 1 a.m. But front runners to win, you basically check off as much of these boxes as possible. You need your stats. That's the only 100% required thing, but the line I would like you all to go for is just try for groundwork plus taking the lead, and then get a mid-race and a late-race skill. I think that's the level at which you should try to do. If you miss one of those, it's not the end of the world. You're just at a little bit of a disadvantage. But groundwork plus 3 greens, taking the lead, that's all going to help you. The navigation combo is going to help you. The mid-race speed skill, all of them are going to help you. Having Kiddison Black Ult's the only absolutely required thing. Secondary acceleration is going to help you a lot as well. Late race speed skill and long S. And the reason is not really to fight the other front runners. It's because there's a Taishan or a end closer going 0.2 excel or 0.4 Excel behind you. And every single one of the things that you grab, again, will stretch the pack out further and further and further and give you a higher chance of winning. You've probably seen it in room matches by this point. Sometimes there is just front runners that go farther enough forward that it is just an insurmountable lead advantage. That's what you should be going for when you're playing front runner, in my personal opinion. So we have concluded the guides. I would like to go over the anti-frustration plan because a lot of people don't know what this is. So back in Leo Cup, I believe, is when I made this for myself, and then I shared it with you all when I started doing videos. But this is how I build Umas for CM. I build the meta Uma to start because I just want a baseline. And I build a passable version of it. In this case, it would be Citizen Black for frontrunner players or some sort of combination of Narita Taishin and or Gold Ship. Once I have this baseline to say, hey, I have a decent Uma that I can put into the CM, build your Oshi character or fun character, make them slightly better than passable, what I would call good, and then finally build the character that progresses your account. A character that has high affinity with your other two characters for parents is a good option because then you can use that parent to build your Oshi again. You're going to repeat the Oshi step and the progress your account step back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then occasionally go and rebuild the meta Uma if you enjoy building that Uma. So hypothetically, at the end, you may have a Citizen Black or Narita Taishin, your Oshi character, and a character with high affinity that's a parent for your Oshi character that you can use in the future as well. That is the anti-frustration plan. The other half of it is that I stop, and I suggest people stop building Umas when the registration period starts in about a week. This is so that you have plenty and ample time to fight for the next CM. There's a lot of preparation you can do, and instead of building Umas on short notice, trying to hit that last little long S and getting frustrated when the game doesn't give you everything that you need, instead, you let it ride. Hey, if you win, you win, you lose, and then you continue on to the next CM and make yourself have a better chance at the next CM. Okay? So this is the off season, as I like to call it. CM is going to happen in a week. Unfortunately, this is a lot shorter off season than normal because, well, we were waiting for TrackBlazer for a lot of this stuff. So generally, my videos get a lot more all over the place in terms of topics. So I may do a card review. I will do the character review each week, like I like doing. I have a Scratch Thoughts video, if you know what that is. You've seen them before. It's just me talking a lot of times. A lot of things to look forward to, but in general, my videos do become a lot more freeform and less guidey after the off season starts. So I do hope you enjoy that because that's what's going to happen. So I do want to thank, we do have a member. I would like to specifically thank Captain KikuZX as well. For their support as a member and support of all the members as well. So I hope you enjoyed this guide. This has been the Frontrunner Guide. Again, I have all the other guides on my channel, Pace Chaser, Late Surger, End Closer, Overview. They're probably popping up right here. Thank you for just sticking with me for the Pisces Cup. I know it's been a long ride. So good luck, everyone. I will probably have another CM stuff when the CM actually does. Burb out.